Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and you know Andy's here with me.
Michael, I felt like that was one of your smoothest intros you ever done.
You
right
like
there.
that? Yeah.
It sounded like you were almost like bringing in NPR vibes in there. You're like, hi, I am Michael, and I'm your host today.
Right.
Very silky, Michael. Where'd it go?
It's my afternoon voice.
It is, man.
Yeah. It's afternoon. It's been a long day here. It's been a long week here. I feel like I'm drowning in rain. Honestly.
Yeah, we are, for real.
Yeah, and my property has a lot of plants and a lot of grass and a lot of trees that appreciate it. But I'm done with it, man. I think we're good.
Even the trees are having little floaties on at this point, just kind of coming around and be like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. I said we're good.
You know, our local meteorologist, his name's Brad Panovich, and I'm calling him out in Charlotte. I'm sure you know who he is.
Yeah.
Right? Right before all this rain started, I remember he put something up on Facebook, and he was like, even if it rains for a whole 10 days, we still won't even get up to... Shut the fuck up, Brad. Look what you don't fucking come at me and tell me we're in a drought right now. Jesus Christ, there's water everywhere.
Right.
The road is floating. Jesus Christ. Like, come on, man. But anyways, we got to get into... Speaking of water, a lot of water in this episode.
Yeah,
this
is a whole water-oriented episode.
It is. But before we get into it, guys, I got to remind you that you can catch these episodes early and ad-free on Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. But here on the free platform, you can check out our other shows, Strange and Unexplained, and the entire catalog of Cryptic Soup with Dina and Kylie. And I say the entire catalog because the catalog has ended for now.
Oh, okay.
Cryptic Soup recently announced on their Instagram. Thina sent me an email, and we talked about it. And they are having to take a break for a little while. Kylie has a lot going on in her life, a lot of responsibilities with work. It sounds very similar to Lauren, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you get to a point where you have to make a decision. And, they got a lot going on in their life, no big deal. But Thina is still going to help us out on social media. And she gave me this case today inadvertently. She didn't know, but I went back to a list that she gave me and picked this case off of it, which is an excellent case, by the way. So props to Thina. Thina, we're sorry that your show is ending. This sucks, but thank you for this case today, and thank you for continuing to be part of True Crime Guys.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. And all the luck to you guys in the future. Hopefully you guys can crank it back up again and start knocking out some episodes. But as far as Strange and Unexplained, there are a few episodes where I said that you could only catch it on Patreon. That was a lie, because we got it back up. The RSS feed has been fixed, and Strange and Unexplained is back everywhere you listen to podcasts. So you can still listen to Strange and Unexplained, and give us a follow on social media as well at True Crime Guys, please, to stay up to date on everything that's going on with the show, and just to stay up to date in the true crime world. Thina is always sharing current and relevant true crime news. If it's trending, we posted it. All right. But today we are talking about a case that happened in 2015. Okay. To a young woman. Her name is Lauren Agee. She was 21 years old from Tennessee, and she was found dead in a cove at Center Hill Lake. And it was during an event called Wakefest, which is basically a wakeboarding festival. It's centered around beer and partying mainly. Not a lot of wakeboarding going on. More a lot of beer and partying.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's kind of
right excuse
there.
to get on the water.
Yeah.
And it takes place in July. It was on the weekend of July 25th to 27th, 2015. The official file of this case, which doesn't hold much weight to me, but, who am I? It's just my opinion. But the official file reads that after consuming a large quantity of alcohol, Lauren fell off the cliffside where she was camping with friends and into the water below. Her cause of death was blunt force trauma with possible drowning. So there you go. Case closed. Don't worry about all the weird bruising on her body, Andy. Don't worry about the strong possibility of rape and the fact that her friends seemed completely unfazed by her death. Don't worry about any of that stuff, okay? It's just a classic falling off a cliff and died.
And possibly drowning. Yeah, you know what? We'll go ahead and go ahead and underline that possibly in the coroner's report and stamp of approval.
Yeah, the official cause of death by authorities was death due to misadventure.
Jeez, that is kind of a, what should we put?
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
You could put murder. Roll that intro, Andy.
Fine.
On the way out there, I saw those two boys, Aaron and Chris, in a canoe holding onto the back of a houseboat in line of sight of the body. waiting. And I thought, that's weird. Why are those kids hanging on the back of the houseboat? But as soon as we rounded the bend, they started paddling over to us, screaming, our friend's missing, our friend's missing, our friend's missing.
Spending time with Chris and Aaron, I could tell there was definitely something wrong there. You know, the way they lawyered up, the way they wouldn't talk, and their demeanor. You know, they definitely, like I said, they didn't have any remorse. They weren't, you know, saddened by the loss of their friend. They were scared.
I told him from start to finish what I knew, and I even told him that Aaron did have a violent past, and that's why me and him broke up. And he was like, well, that has nothing to do with this. There's no violence in this matter. It was an accident, and we're just trying to prove that it's an accident. He like lunged at me, was wording, I hate you, just kind of like calling me things. And then he got into his cell and he was like hitting the glass, flicking me off, telling me he hated me, and I'm like sitting there crying, of course, telling him I love him. And he even said before I walked away, like, well, other people are going to be reaching out to you. The family's crazy. They're getting private investigators, and you're safe if you talk to me, but if you talk to anybody else, I can't protect you. So he even tried to scare me.
Police had said she fell off the cliff, but exactly where? Where in their investigation that night did they identify the location? Where on the cliff did she fall? Where's the blood? Show me the pictures of the blood on the rock. Show me the broken twigs. We have 7 people that looked over the case, and out of all 7, everyone has the same question.
So Lauren Agee was born August 19th, 1993 in Biloxi, Mississippi. And later she moved to Henderson, Tennessee with her mother after her parents divorced. She was a very outgoing person who had a love for animals and dancing. Lauren spent 4 years dancing for the Hendersonville High School Golden Girl dance team. And she received a dance scholarship to Bethel University. And she did go to Bethel for a little while, but she ended up transferring to another university. I can't think of right now, but she ended up studying criminal justice. Okay. Or she was in the process of transferring to study for criminal justice.
Yeah, because she was only 21 at the time. So
Correct. And around this time, she had also met a man who she believed was the one in a very serious relationship.
Yeah,
okay,
they were
let's
dating.
put it that way. They've been together for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for all intents and purposes, even the family was like, this might be the one.
Yeah.
This might
And
be
even
the
though
guy.
they weren't together, like they weren't in the same spot, I believe, at the same time. I think he was at a different school, or when she transferred away, they weren't together. They were still maintaining the relationship.
Yes, they were.
So even though it was kind of long distance at that point, but it was still strong.
Exactly. But during the summer of Lauren's second year of college, she told her mother, Sherry, her mother's name is Sherry Smith, now that she's remarried. She told her mother, Sherry, that she wanted to go to Wakefest with her friend Hannah Palmer from high school. Now, Lauren's mom, let's see, to put it lightly, was not a Hannah Palmer fan, Andy. And neither am I.
Yeah, even back then was not.
And neither am I. But she hugged Lauren and she said, be careful, honey, good luck. And I love you. That's all you can do. She's 21 years old. Mm-hmm. That sucks. It's one of the hardest things about being a parent, because when you're in your early 20s, you still don't know shit.
Nope.
You still don't. And you can run headfirst into trouble, into drama, and you don't even know what you're getting into. And your parents have seen that shit.
And that's one of the hardest things as a parent.
A lot of times they have. But Lauren's mom was very invested in her. You know what I'm saying? She was very invested in Lauren and her life, and she knew what was going on. And she had her finger on the pulse, and she knew that Hannah Palmer was bad news.
That's hard being a parent when you see your child like becoming friends with somebody and getting close with somebody, and you just get a bad vibe from that child or that
well,
other.
She said she was a fair weather friend.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like you can see it from an outside perspective, from an older, mature perspective, and you see that your child's just not seeing it, and you're like, you're going to be disappointed in this friend.
Yeah, but they have to learn that.
Yeah.
They have to experience it firsthand. They really do. But on July 25th, 2015. The girls headed out. They recorded their car trip. There's videos and pictures of them on the way to Wakefest and social media posts and whatnot. They could not wait to get there. And when they arrived, though, they met up with 2 other people. Palmer's new boyfriend, Aaron Lilly, and one of his friends, Christopher Stout. Now, this was a bit of a surprise to Lauren, or at least she expressed this to her friend that way.
Yeah.
She had another friend who was back at home who did not go to Wakefest, who she was texting during the live. So a lot of her feelings, her emotions come from that friend. So as long as that friend, her name is Cassie, as long as she's telling the truth, we kind of get an idea of what Lauren's thinking at this time. And she does have text messages to back this up, right? We're not just pulling shit out of thin air.
And there was one other friend that she did meet at Wakefest, because she does go to that friend and ask to stay at at their cabin.
Oh
She's
shit!
like,
It was Cassie.
yeah, because she's like,
No, Cassie was at Wakefest.
Exactly. 'Cause
Yes.
she goes to her and's like, can I just come stay with you? I don't like.
That's right.
This was unplanned, and they're like, there was no more room at this cabin. So
Right. Cassie is at Wakefest as well. That's correct. But she is nowhere near Lauren. She's staying at a cabin at another area of the lake.
because Lauren thought that's what they were planning on doing. Like, she thought they were supposed to go get a cabin, they were
Yeah.
going to go stay, and then
That's what she told her mother.
Yeah, and then they were she was like brought out there, and they're like, oh, actually, we're camping.
Yeah, but not only are we camping, we're camping with boys. With especially which that's fine. You know, Hannah, you want to go with your boyfriend? That's cool. But she basically had her boyfriend bring a boy. Christopher Stout here for Lauren.
Yep.
Right? And so now there's this awkward pairing.
Yep.
Now Lauren is paired with him throughout this weekend, and she's like, "What the hell? You knew I had a boyfriend."
Yeah, that's the big thing.
You know,
too.
it's very awkward. There was also a 4th person who was part of this group, okay, or a 5th rather. My bad.
Yeah.
I can't count. There was a 5th person part of this group. His name was Brixton. But we're not going to talk a lot about Brixton. You know why? Because there's literally nothing about him, and I don't think he's involved.
Yeah.
I really think Brixton was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and him, kind of like Lauren, got thrown in with this group because there was nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Because he was a weird 5th wheel, for one.
Well, the campsite
And-
was big enough for other people to kind of come up there. And I
Yes.
think he was just he met them and was like, can I camp up here too?
Yeah.
So,
We have to mention him, though, because he lawyered up and moved to Florida after the event, but I would too if I got mixed up in this and my name was being thrown around in articles just because I slept on the same damn cliff as these people.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, he wasn't even around when they did all. How come he's not in any of their alibis? How come he's not in any of their stories, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't even with them. And why would they cover for this guy that they didn't know? They weren't, nobody was close to this guy.
no.
So I think he's a complete red herring in this case. He has nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the first day there, they spent drinking and they, jumping off cliffs. That's a great combination. Man,
Well,
I hope my kids grow up and drink and jump off cliffs.
Well, there'll be some. We'll have some pictures up so you can see where their campsite is on the cliff.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge
I'm
lake.
sure Athena's
and
going
there's
to put one on social media.
There's a
Athena, put up
big
the cliff.
cliffside spot overlooking the lake, and they have walked up, climbed up to this spot.
Yeah.
And there's just a big spot of trees where they put their campsite up, and they can literally leave their I think they said her hammock was 5 feet from the cliffside.
Yes.
Like when they went to the campsite.
Yes.
So literally being able to get out of your hammock, take a running jump, and just leap off the cliff.
Pretty much.
So
yeah,
that's where they are this whole time.
Allegedly, according to her friends, the 3 people who were involved, which would be Aaron, Chris, and Hannah, right? They stated that Lauren hit the back of her head on one of her jumps. That was really never proven, but they said that she was unconscious for a few moments.
But that's only the 3 of them who say this.
Only the 3 of them have said that. And then there is video footage of her at a restaurant afterwards, and she seemed to be doing just fine. She's waving and smiling at the camera inside the bar, and she looks fine.
Yeah, and everybody who saw her there said she didn't seem like she had a concussion or anything. She was acting just like herself.
Right. And I mean, you would think if you did have a concussion and you're out drinking, you're going to start getting sluggish real quick. Mm-hmm. You're going to start slowing down real fast. And
you're
she was not.
Yeah, you would be almost acting drunk as soon as you got there.
Exactly.
Because this is, when she goes to that restaurant, this is when I think she meets her friend Cassie, too. If I'm not mistaken, because Cassie's out there, too.
Cassie is at the bar, and Cassie and Hannah have an altercation at this bar because apparently Cassie used to date Hannah's current boyfriend, Mr. Aaron Lilly, who was here with them.
Yeah, and we learn a little bit about that later on.
We do. I mean, this is good a spot as any. Aaron was violent with Cassie, and she has photos of it. She has bruises. She has pictures of bruises. She has bite marks. Right? What else did she have? She had like marks on her chest where he had struck her and stuff. Like he was very violent, very violent. And then I used some audio in the intro where she was talking about going and seeing him while he was doing a stint in jail. And while the whole time she's there, he's cussing at her, telling her how much he hates her and pounding on the glass and shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's a piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, this dude, Aaron, the more you learn about Aaron throughout this case, you're like, oh, this dude was a loose cannon to begin with.
Yeah.
So.
No doubt. And when they got back to the campsite from the bar, I'm sure there were more than some uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Because as Andy described earlier, the sleeping situations were limited. They were limited, and they were already set up.
They were pre-planned.
They were pre-planned, obviously.
But not to Lauren's knowledge.
No. So there was a tent on top of this campsite, which had a cliff on both sides. Like Andy said earlier, Lauren thought they were going to be in a cabin. Everyone who was going pretty much thought they were going to be in a cabin. That was allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly, but there was not enough room, so they ended up having to move and find their own little campsite. So they decided they were going to do it on the most dangerous cliff there, apparently. Yeah, you literally have to use a rope to get up the cliff.
Yeah, because it's mostly for people at the lake to climb up there and jump off the cliff.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
That's
they were
all
like, we're going to camp up here.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a 45-foot drop on one side, and then there's a 90-foot straight drop on the other.
Mm-hmm. And one side's kind of like inclined down.
That's what I'm saying. The 45-foot drop is it's gradual. Yeah, but you don't want to trip and fall off of it though.
No, lots of trees, lots of rocks.
You're getting fucked up. But I don't think you're getting to the water. We'll talk more about that later. So, like I said, there's a tent and there's a hammock up here designated for these 4 people. That's it. So Aaron and Hannah were supposed to sleep in the tent, while Lauren and Chris were supposed to share a single hammock. That, like Andy said, that was held up over the cliff.
Yeah, 5 feet from the edge of the cliff.
There's pictures of this, guys. Check it out online. There's tons of pictures of this case because of the social media post and crime scene photos, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because when the police got there, the whole campsite was still set up.
And it is very important for you to understand this campsite to see why people are so enraged about this case and so aggravated at the way that it was closed so prematurely without looking at so much key evidence.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the campsite in order to truly understand that. So when Lauren got there and realized that she would be sharing a hammock with some guy she just met today, she asked her friend Cassie, who she met at the bar, if she could stay with her at the cabin. But Cassie declined. She was like, I'm sorry, there's not enough room. And like I mentioned, Cassie used to date Aaron, which would make you think like she would have more compassion for Lauren, right? Yeah. It's like, I don't really want to send you up there with that asshole.
Sleep on the floor.
Sleep on the floor. Lauren had a sleeping bag. She brought a sleeping bag.
Sleep on the floor, wherever you go. There's a rug somewhere. Well, like there's a spot in that cabin for Lauren. Like,
exactly.
At this point, like that's what I kept thinking too. I was like, there's a spot for her in this cabin.
See, Cassie, who dated Aaron, right? Her and Aaron went and camped at that same site years before.
Yep.
But they slept in the hammock.
Yeah.
And she said she remembered thinking then, she was like, if this rope breaks in this hammock, I'm dead.
Yeah. If the rope breaks and you land wrong and roll, you're done.
Done. So, but sometime between midnight that night and 2:30 a.m. on July 26, 2015, Lauren and her friends used a canoe to travel to the remote campsite that was surrounded by the 2 cliffs. And in a video, one of the people can be heard saying, we're going into a death trap. I'm pretty sure it was Lauren.
Yeah, you'd not be surprised.
Ironically, I'm pretty sure Lauren says that. And this is where things kind of get dicey. Her friends say Lauren went to sleep in the hammock, and then what happens after that it's just a mystery to them. They have no idea.
Because they say that apparently she did agree to like go back to the campsite and share the hammock with this guy because she didn't really get any bad vibes from him. She just didn't want to do this. She was like, this was not my plan.
Right.
So
Exactly. And like I said, she had her own sleeping bag, and it kind of looked in the picture like she was in the sleeping bag in the hammock.
Yeah.
So that kind of separates you in a sense. But still, I mean, anybody knows you're in a hammock with another person you're touching. It's only physics. You
Yeah, this
can't
isn't
fucking go to the other side.
It's not a big
hammock.
flat. It's not a big flat double hammock that's like in a backyard. This is a strung up between two trees, Nebo hammock or
Right.
whatever it would
You're
be.
putting her in a very awkward situation regardless.
Yeah,
is
you're in
what
a
I'm saying.
cocoon with a guy.
If I was that dude and she was that uncomfortable, I'd be like, bro, I'm just gonna sleep on the floor, sleep on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get my fucking sleeping bag and sleep on the ground. Big deal. You sleep on the hammock.
But then you
know?
realize who these guys might be.
Honestly, what they should have done was the two dudes should have slept in the damn hammock and the two girls should have slept in the tent. That's what they should have done.
True, but then you realize.
But then that ruins their whole weekend.
then you realize
I
who
get
these
it.
guys are.
Very much so. Very much so. But later that morning, two fishermen found Lauren's body in the lake. A fisherman, Lynn Blair, and his son Dylan were fishing from their boat when they spotted her body floating face down in the cove. Later, Lauren's mother was contacted, and one of the first questions she asked was, where are the people she was with? The officer said that they were being questioned.
Like that was one of the sketchiest things too. If you remember in that interview, because the father and son find the body, they call the police, and the police come in a boat, and they're getting the body out, and it's like as soon as the police get there and they're going around to get the body, who comes around the fucking cove? But Aaron, like the three of them.
Aaron and Chris.
No, it's just Aaron and Chris in the canoe.
Aaron and Chris, yeah.
Aaron and Chris come around acting, and they literally like, hey, we're actually looking for our friend. Have you seen her? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her. We totally were
Whoa.
checking what you guys were doing over here.
What a happenstance. We were just about to check over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, they told investigators that they woke up that morning. Lauren was gone, but her shoes, her cell phone, and the rest of her belongings were still under the hammock.
Kind of stacked neatly, too, like where she had literally stacked them before bed.
It wasn't adding up. They didn't report her missing because they thought she had gone back to the bar or met other people or just found other arrangements. Man, the bullshit was pouring out, dude. I mean, they were so full of it. Hannah told a witness that she saw Lauren leave with a man on a boat.
Not just a man, some boys.
Oh.
It was like she said. I
Yeah,
think she
that's
went out
right,
and
she did.
Just get out and got on the boat with some boys.
Yeah, she did. The two boys you're with.
Yeah, and
while
like,
she was dead.
Everyone,
She did get in
everybody
a
was
boat,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, you mean the girl who was visibly upset that you were making her sleep in a hammock with a boy who was not her boyfriend,
Yeah.
even though she has a serious boyfriend, and that's what she's upset about. She's gonna go leave to go party with some other boys she doesn't know on a boat in the middle of the night.
Right.
Definitely sounds like a move she's gonna do.
Yeah. Aaron told police that he thought Lauren left to meet up with a former boyfriend. Okay. Really, Aaron? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, they're just, like, not only are they making shit up, they're making shit up to make her look bad.
Very
Like,
much so.
that's fucked up. Not, like, you knew how she protested about being with this guy, and then because she has a very serious current boyfriend,
Yep.
right? And then you're going to say that she ran off to go see a former boyfriend. Man, that's just insult to injury. That's salt on the wounds right there.
Yep.
It really is. He's trying to fuck with the boyfriend.
Yeah. And because Aaron's the kind of leader of this whole organization that's happening right now. When everybody gets together, like even the police say that Aaron basically tells Chris at one point, like, "Shut up."
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
let me do the talking.
Shut up. Let me do the talking. Yeah.
So.
And Aaron's he's a big kid.
Yeah.
He's a big kid. And Chris, what did Chris say, right? He said he believed that Lauren slipped and fell when she got up to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they were literally zero help. Shocker.
Yeah. And nobody heard. Nobody, like, everybody has a different opinion, but
Yeah.
if she fell, you didn't hear that? You didn't hear her scream and fall
Right.
a fucking 90-foot drop?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, there's a police detective from a neighboring county who happened to be a first responder that day. His name was Chris Yarchuk. And he was working as a security guard for the event. He said he doesn't believe that Lauren fell from the cliff because it wasn't possible for her to have fallen and landed in the lake.
Not from there.
Simple as that. Yarchuk, who was first on the scene, said when he examined her body, he noticed that she had blood and signs of trauma to the back of her head and shoulder area. And when he saw a bite mark on her chest, he immediately suggested that they do a rape kit. But the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office did not conduct a rape kit or swab her body for DNA. It was alleged that they believed that since she had a tampon in, she could not have been sexually assaulted.
God, you have no idea how many female listeners probably just screamed out loud. Like when I almost did when I heard that the first time. I was just like, you fucking what?
Yeah.
So
It's absurd. It really is.
I was like, what year is this? Fucking 2015. God damn it.
What's up, creepers? Are you looking for a new podcast? I know you are. And I got one that's both horrifying and hilarious. So pack your bags and check out Slaycation. It's hosted by a former social worker and crime junkie and her comedy screenwriter husband and his Emmy-nominated TV producing partner. This show brings a very unique and humorous spin to stories of vacations gone horribly wrong. Slaycation is the perfect balance of education, humor, and compassion. The hosts lead with empathy for the victims while making heavy and honestly chilling stories a little easier to digest. Whether it's a tropical getaway gone bad or a road trip with a deadly twist, every episode is packed with suspenseful storytelling that'll have you asking, was it an accident or murder? Slaycation is available on all major podcast platforms. Just search Slaycation on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Just remember, getting away can be murder on Slaycation. The autopsy report revealed that Lauren, whose blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit, died from blunt force trauma and possible drowning. Authorities concluded that Lauren left her sleeping area in the middle of the night and fell from the cliff and drowned in the water.
Even though there was only a tiny bit of water in her lungs.
Yeah.
So,
And don't even come at me with that dry drowning bullshit.
no.
They ruled her death accidental and were confident that her friends weren't involved. Confident, Andy. But this detective, Yarchuk, he called Lauren's mother and he explained his concerns. He was not in a position to reopen the case himself, but he said, look, I think you have very good cause to reopen this case in this investigation, and I think you should. And so he pressures her, and he also says, hey, you need to hire a private eye as well. You need to hire another private investigator, someone who's not close to this case like me, whatever. He's like, but we need someone else on this case to help work on this, and we can get this overturned.
Oh,
I mean, he
absolutely.
felt really confident about it. He did.
Oh, anybody can see why you would feel confident that this can be overturned.
Yeah. And so actually Yarchuk and Wysocki, who is the new private investigator, Sheila Wysocki, she has a podcast dedicated to this entire case, and it's very thorough.
Oh yeah.
Very thorough. So if you guys you want to do a deep dive on it, check that out. But the private eyes, Yarchuk and Wysocki, they both disagreed that the case should be closed. They proved that if she had fallen from the cliff, she would have landed on trees and rocks, and there's no way her body would have made it to the lake.
Not on that side.
Not on the side where the hammock was.
Yeah, because on the side where the hammock was, if she would have fallen on that side, the current would have taken her the other way. If she would have fallen on the side where she was found, she wouldn't have made it to the water.
She wouldn't have made it to the water. There's
so
no way.
there was like no physical way for her to get there.
No. And they tested this with dummies that were almost exactly Lauren's height and weight, and they would toss them over the edge, push them, let them fall. The dummies never made it to the water on the 45-foot side. Never. They always hit a tree. And looking down it, I'd bet anything. It's like a game of Plinko. It's like, they ain't going to make it down there.
No.
You're not going to make it. You're going to get caught. Like maybe a ball could bounce off of trees and kind of make it down there, but a human body? No way, dude.
No. And then, like I said, on the other side, if they throw the dummy off that side, the water's taking it the other direction.
Right.
So it's not making it back to the cove.
No, they're not. But also, the private eyes, they pulled the coroner's report, and upon further investigation, they realized that there were bruises on her thighs, inner thighs, Andy, a broken nose, broken fingers, and although it's not listed in the autopsy report, you could tell from the photos that Lauren had hemorrhaging in her throat. All the detectives, Yarchuk, Wysocki, they all thought this exact thing. And there's very good photos of the autopsy. Very good lighting. You can see the discoloration in the skin and where the blood has pooled. And yeah, there was hemorrhaging in her throat for sure.
Just signs of like strangulation.
Exactly.
So
exactly. they said that her injuries were more consistent with like a fall from a ledge, right? She had more bruises, not like a fall from a cliff, where they would be much worse, maybe even cuts, scrapes, open wounds on the body, right?
Breaks.
When you fall 90 feet and hit rock,
Yeah.
your skin is going to burst open.
Yeah,
You
like I said,
understand what I'm trying to say? I'm not trying to be
bones are gonna
graphic.
break.
I'm just
like bigger bones than just fingers.
exactly.
Like you're going to break an arm, a leg, parts of your
Yes.
face are going to be cracked.
They
and
said
broken.
her injuries came more likely while she was trying to fight someone. Honestly. And as far as drowning, like Andy mentioned earlier, there was no water. There was hardly any water at all in her lungs. So that means she was barely breathing when she hit the water.
Yeah, or when
barely.
she was put in the water.
Exactly. And also, when people drown, Andy, especially only 14 hours later, they typically sink because their lungs are full of water.
Yeah, when you drown, that's what happens.
Exactly.
All the air goes out of your lungs.
And Lauren was found floating on the water less than 12 hours later. So...
Stuck in a cove.
Now, there was also this, which I believe to be the most damning evidence in this case, and it's the triangle imprint on her stomach and lower chest. Okay?
It's like right there in her sternum area.
Yes. This imprint, man, it strongly resembles the tip of a canoe, like so much that it's the exact same.
Yeah. Like
it is an
very
actual
much.
imprint of the tip of a canoe. And it matches perfectly. Both the detective and the private eye can confirm this. It matches perfectly with the canoe that Aaron and Chris had access to that night.
The one they pulled up in to the police. Yeah.
Perfectly. So when this was brought to their attention, how do you explain this off, right? And this is clearly seen in the pictures, Andy. You can clearly see this triangle imprint in the pictures, the autopsy. Well, according to a statement by the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency assisted the Sheriff's Department in loading the body into one of their boats. And because of one of their boats, the way she was placed on that's where it came from, they say. Just for that little short ride over to.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's exactly where that would happen in a body where the blood's not pumping anymore, and where that imprint wouldn't have been left.
Exactly. Exactly. Their official statement was, our investigation determined this mark is an identical match to the TWRA boat storage locker lid, where the body was placed face down during transport to the boat ramp. But it's not.
No,
it's not. It's the TWRA boat, where the point comes together at the front of the boat, the angle is 90 degrees. Okay? The mark on her chest is 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Which matches the canoe perfectly.
Because it's like, even if you're saying that, so are you telling me that you kind of callously pulled this woman's body and disrespectfully just kind of tossed it in the boat face down on this like lid or whatever, to where she was just like, this was just laying pressed into her chest? Like, no, that's not how police do things.
That's not how they would have done. The body would have been immediately put into a body bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been covered correctly with more
dignity,
More dignity, yes. Yeah. Whereas these boys would have just threw her over the fucking corner of the boat.
Yeah, and paddled her out
Which is exactly what the fuck they did. They're not going to put her in the middle of the boat where they have to lift her all the way out again.
Yeah. Because it's like, are you cops admitting that's like, oh, are you just admitting that you just carelessly handled this body after you found it in the lake? And
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, are you just admitting that you kind of fucked up the crime scene?
You fucked up the entire investigation with the way you handled the body.
By
Is
just
that what you're saying?
assuming it was a fall?
It's irritating. And like you said, 2015. Golly, dude. But Detective Yarchuk said, these 3 kids are covering it up, and I'll believe that until I go to my grave. And I agree with them, but they're not the only ones covering it up.
No.
Because these 3 kids do not have the power to cover up the shit that's being covered up.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think they do, Andy. The stuff that's being just dismissed, this very crucial evidence that's being like quickly explained away, that's terrifying.
Right.
Somebody has
knows,
connections.
Yeah, somebody knows somebody.
Yeah, Mr. Lilly knows somebody.
Probably,
he's connected to somebody, man. So let's talk aftermath of all this and theories as well. We got to talk some theories. So even after Lauren was found dead, Hannah, Aaron, and Chris stayed at the lake and continued partying. Chris later posted on his Instagram later that day that he had the best weekend ever.
Yeah, that was one of the most insulting things. I saw that Instagram
Best
post. And it was like,
weekend ever.
Lake Wakefest was great, had a great weekend. Like, and it's just a picture of like from the campsite, like looking down at like the lake.
Well, no, he's got one where he's on a boat and he's like holding on to something, and Aaron and Hannah can be seen in the background. They're sitting beside each other and they're like looking over their shoulders at the camera. And they're all just smiling, man. Instagram photo right after. He kept that shit up forever. And none of them attended her funeral. Lauren's funeral.
Of course
none
not.
of them did. In December of 2016, Lauren's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit in an effort to get answers from Hannah, Aaron, and Chris, but they all pleaded the fifth. Agee's mother believes that the last people who saw her alive are responsible for her death, and I do too. Here's a quote from her mother. She says, "I have to be her voice, and I have to pursue the truth because I owe that to her. I'm all she had, and she would expect nothing less of me. I'm not going to stop until we have the truth of what happened to Lauren." And I hope she doesn't.
No, I think
seriously, I hope she doesn't, because this is devastating, man. This is devastating mishandlement of this case.
because I believe they said that she called Hannah years later after her death.
She did.
And like asked her again, like, what happened? What's some more details? And apparently
Correct.
Hannah's story this time changed from the last time. And she said that
You know what she did? She got tired of her calling, and she said, "Look, Lauren got up to go pee, and she slipped and she fell." End of story. I guarantee you that's what she did.
yeah,
Andy.
because her mom even said that her phone rang because she was on like a Skype call with her.
Yep.
Her phone rang and she could hear Aaron on the other end saying, "Stick to the story," and like
Yep.
get off the call.
Get off the call. Stick to the story. Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, they did
Also,
get it overturned.
they're living in Florida now. Those two
So-
are. Yeah.
Like they're still looking into this case currently, I believe. Like, didn't it get overturned eventually? Like the wrongful death suit.
No, I think it got thrown out, bud. I don't think
okay.
No, nothing has come of it so far. Lauren's mom seems pretty discouraged.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
she
be.
has kind of refocused into her efforts into making sure that this doesn't happen to other people, and not so much hitting these brick walls over and over again.
Yeah.
With Lauren, right? But speaking of Hannah and Aaron, they live in Florida now, right? And some of the most recent stuff that's come out about the case was on a Facebook page that was dedicated to Lauren. Well, that's one of the first places a lot of the private eyes tapped into, right? They're like, hey, a lot of times these people will come here if they know anything about it and start putting some information in.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, or maybe they're asking questions or whatever. So they find out, so they start monitoring these pages, and they find out that there's a few names on all of the pages that are just spouting absolute bullshit. Like stuff that's just not factual. They know is not true.
Yeah.
Because of evidence. Like they know. And so Wysocki, she was like, let me check out these IP addresses, right? Let's just see where they're coming from. They all happen to be coming from the same street in Florida, Andy. Happens to be the same street that the two people live on that are kind of pertain to this case. Ain't that kind of weird?
That's weird. I wonder why you'd be so obsessed with this.
You would think if you had nothing to do with it, you would just let it go after all these years. Why would you?
Why would you be trying to?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. That's very confusing. Why would you be doing that?
Indeed. So, Andy, what do you think? What do you think happened? This is all hypothetical, right? And of course, our opinions do not matter, right? Can't sue me. I ain't no freaking law enforcement.
I could-
shit. What
I
do you
could,
think happened? I have an idea, but
I have an idea, and I do believe that during that trip back up to the campsite, something was said. Something was something was maybe like inferred. Maybe there was going to be something happening, and somebody did not like what they heard.
yeah,
And things became very physical very quickly. And I believe Lauren was taken advantage of, and she was assaulted, and things got out of hand very quickly, and they killed her up there. And then to try to figure out how to make it look like an accident, I think maybe they pushed her off like they threw her down the cliff, like trying to throw her into the cove or throw her down there.
yeah,
And I don't think she made it. So then I think they had to go down there, get her out, and then take her onto the other side.
yeah.
Because there's no way.
Possibly.
Yeah, because they had to somehow get her in that canoe for that spot to be on her. And I feel like they took her far away.
They took her to the other side.
I
but
feel like they took
didn't-
her, even further to make it look like she tried to like float somewhere.
Yeah, may
and
have.
floated back,
Yeah.
but she still just floated right back into that cove. And they were like, "Oh, look, she fell down the side," thinking that was going to be a good enough excuse.
Right.
And then once the investigators came, they're like, "Yeah, you can't fall down this side."
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest, I'd say the most popular theory is that maybe Chris tried to make a move on her and she resisted. and he got a little too physical. But how does Aaron tie into this? What does Aaron come out and help you rape somebody? Seems absurd, especially with his girlfriend there, right? But he is kind of a violent person.
Aaron's got a history of violence already.
He
so
does.
I feel like I said, I feel like this was more of this may have been a group effort, or maybe Aaron was the one who was doing it.
It still seems weird that you would rape a girl and take part in this, a girl that your girlfriend knows, okay, while she's there. It just seems, even for a douchebag, even for a piece of shit, it seems odd though, right? Don't you think?
Unless, like we've talked about, maybe Hannah did pass out. Maybe Hannah was too drunk. Maybe she did pass out, and Aaron thought he wanted to get something else.
Or maybe Hannah was the aggressor.
Very much so.
You think about that. Look, so already in the night, she already got in one fight with Cassie at the bar. She's already fired up. And people are already talking shit about her boyfriend, right? Then they get back to the campsite, and now Lauren's pissed that you are pairing her with this. You don't think she said something?
Bro, that's what I said. I think somebody said something, and they did not like what they heard.
Exactly. And then, but look, so maybe they get into a fight. Hannah pushes Lauren. She falls down, hits her head, fucking knocked unconscious, maybe even killed down the cliff as far as she could go. And then the boys dispose of her body for her because they're there.
Very much so. That's
and maybe
also
they were agging it on. Because that would make, I don't know, it just would make more sense as to why Hannah would cover up for Aaron all this time. Like, you really gonna cover up for your boyfriend who raped somebody else in your presence?
You could be, fear is a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
If you're very much that afraid that he's gonna do the same to you, he's already gotten away with it once. That could be a very strong mentality of like, if you get away with it, it could be me next time.
Or like I said, I don't know. I just don't see why she would have protected him in all those interrogations, but I can see why he would protect her.
Maybe.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because now they're all implemented. He was like, we'll get rid of the body, and then now
this is all our secret. Yeah.
Exactly. We're all bound. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's just an alternative to the rape gone wrong.
It's a good theory though,
because technically there was no rape kit done, so we really don't know.
No,
if she was raped, we really don't know.
It looked like there could have been signs of it.
Yeah,
but
the bruising on the inner thighs, highly sus.
The rural Tennessee police officers, those rural county cops. Well, she got one of them tampons in, so you don't want to even go in there.
Yeah, impossible.
Like that's just that is the most backwoods, just old fucking men mentality.
It is.
Been like, she was. It was that time of
That's what I'm saying. It's a poor excuse, Andy. It's all it is. It's a poor excuse, especially like you said for 2015. You know, if this 1960, okay, I can understand how they'd be a little awkward about it, but heck, in 2015, man, come on.
Yeah, that's going to be your excuse.
That's what I'm saying. The way that this is explained away, I want to know who those first responding officers are. Not the guy who was security, not Warchuk.
Yeah.
Who were the first responding officers? Because they fucked a lot of shit up, and they also dismissed a lot of possible leads in the investigation that day.
Yeah, very much so.
It's crazy.
Somebody knows somebody. Like there's some power being thrown around. There's some leverage
gotta
being
be,
thrown around
dude.
somewhere.
Oh, and Lily or somebody is connected. I just don't think it's Chris, because Chris is in prison right now actually for his third DUI. He I think he hit and run in a DUI. And then failed to show up. So, yeah, he's doing like a year in prison, I think, or a year in jail.
Oh, someone picked up an alcohol habit after this? Maybe he's probably fighting some demons? I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, him and Aaron both already had DUIs when they went to Wakefest.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're fucking 21.
Don't you have to do that to get into Wakefest?
Yeah, I think it's preliminary. But, yeah, man, what a crazy case. I saw it on Thena's list, and I was like, Wakefest murder. This is interesting. Let me check this out. And then you type it in, and really nothing comes up with those exact words because it's not labeled as a murder.
No, it's not. It's an accidental death. Yeah, fuck that.
I don't know, Andy.
I don't think there's anything accidental about this.
There's not. They know something, man. It's too sus. The way they all dipped out. And also, why does everybody go to Florida?
Yeah.
Brixton went to Florida. Freaking all them went to Florida. Hannah and them.
If you're going to
go to Florida.
If you're going to Wakefest,
Yeah,
I guess Florida seems like the ultimate end game.
Florida's like that magical vacation place, right?
Yeah, it's the
redneck California.
The promised land.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to need in the promised land, though, Mike, when you go down there to Florida?
Yeah.
You know what you're going to need?
You're going to need some deodorant, probably.
You're going to need to keep them pit smelling fresh.
You are, because it's hot and muggy.
Oh,
and
so humid down there.
Even more than here. But it's okay, because you got Oh My Gaia. Oh My Guy is an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. Guys, there's tons of scents to choose from, including our scent, True Crime Pine. There's also Barbershop and Sailor and Sweet Pea and Pear and Bergamot Amber, Fireside, Honeysuckle, Lumberjack, Leather, Dreamsicle, Coconut, Egyptian Musk, and so many more at ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the code word CRIMEPINE for 15% off your order. Crime Pine, no spaces, CRIMEPINE, for 15% off your order. True Crime Guys listeners, what are you waiting for? Go check it out, ohmygaia.com. There's a link right below the description of this episode. Also, make sure you check out all of our other sponsors like Slaycation, a new podcast brought to you by some TV producers, I believe. One of them created Brain Games and Brainchild, two shows that are currently on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked them up. Tex, oh my God, what's his name? Adam Tex, oh man, Davis.
There we go.
Adam Tex Davis. That's who it is, him and his wife. They started this podcast called Slaycation, and it's pretty cool. It's about murders that happen on vacation. So check them out. Give them a listen. Also, make sure you check out Cryptic Soup and Strange and Unexplained wherever you listen to podcasts, guys. Right? I think that's pretty much it, Andy.
I think we're all good.
Patreon, guys. Patreon.com/TrueCrimeGuys. You can hear these episodes early, ad-free, with bonus content.
All right, guys.
All right. That's it. Well, if you're listening to this on Patreon, let's get into that bonus content. For everybody else, we'll see you next week. Keep on creeping.
Bye.